I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to thank everybody for coming today. We have something a little different on the agenda. Our first topic is life-saving recognition awards. So we're going to begin the meeting with that. Then we're going to take a recess until about 9:30 to have some coffee and celebrate, and then we'll re-adjourn. So I'm going to hand it over to Chief.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody, for turning out today for this most important event. I'd like to thank the town board for taking the time to recognize the responders involved in the December 15th water rescue at Shell Beach. The morning was bitterly cold on Shelter Island. Air temperatures were in the low 20s, with strong winds making it feel closer to 6 degrees out. What began as a call about a dog that had fallen through the ice quickly turned into a life-threatening emergency. Thankfully, before going out onto the ice, the dog's owner made a panicked call to 911. She then went out onto the ice to try to save her dog and fell through. A friend trying to help also went out onto the ice and ultimately fell through, entering the water as well. Within moments, both individuals were fully in 32-degree water, almost 100 feet from the shore. One of them was nearly completely submerged, with only their face above the waterline struggling to stay alive. Multiple agencies responded, including the police, fire, EMS, and the highway departments. And what followed was a coordinated effort under extremely hazardous winter conditions. Police Officer Glenn Keel and Marine Patrol Officer Bo Payne responded by police vessel. Officer Payne came from off-duty. Luckily, he was only minutes from headquarters. Police Officer Keel was covering court duty, and they both arrived at the boat within minutes. Together, they launched the boat. Officer Keel put on protective suit, and Officer Payne navigated through the broken ice, high winds, to reach the victims. Officer Keel entered the freezing water while Officer Payne maintained vessel position and assisted with the recovery. Working together, they brought both victims and the dog safely aboard after the victims had been in the water for approximately 15 minutes. Police Officer Taylor Rando, who was on patrol in the center of town, raced out to Shell Beach. Once at the shoreline, Officer Rando also entered the water in protective equipment, trying to make her way out to the victims as the police boat arrived. Highway personnel deployed a rope to tether her for safety as she moved into the icy water. She assisted with the rescue coordination and helped care for the victims once they were brought to shore. Animal Control Officer Jenny Zahler, reluctantly here, supported the operation by assisting with protective equipment, communications, and care for the dog. She also provided her vehicle to help warm one of the victims before EMS transported. Members of the Highway Department played a direct role in the rescue as well. Highway Superintendent Kenneth Lewis, along with Ron Anderson and Wesley Congdon, entered the freezing water with no protective equipment to help bring the victims safely from the boat to shore and assisting in getting them emergency vehicles where warming measures could begin. Because of the teamwork, quick decision-making, and willingness of individuals to put themselves in harm's way, 2 lives and a much-loved family pet were saved that day. Today, we recognize not just the individual acts of courage, but a true team effort that reflects the very best of our town employees and emergency responders. At this time, I would like to invite the Deputy Supervisor, Meg, to come up. But Meg, I'm sorry, before I do that, let me just, last night, Lon Du sent us a letter. She was one of the victims. And she asked me to read this today. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it today because she had prior travel plans for business. Dear Shelter Island Department of Police, Fire, Highway, and Emergency Services, I'm very sorry I could not present at today's ceremony, recognizing all of your courageous and selfless acts that December morning. I cannot begin to express my gratitude to each one of you for saving my life, my friend Johnny's life, and my sweet boy Archie's life, the dog. It was the most terrifying day of our lives, and it could have been much worse if it was not for each one of you. My husband and I came to live here full-time over 6 years ago. I felt unsure how I would fit in this island life. And then COVID happened, and I felt even more unsure. But over the years, we've made great friends, experienced all the island has to offer, and even been in the reporter a few times, exclamation point. One thing I am very sure of now is that I can always depend on my fellow islanders, and Shelter Island is our home. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, forever grateful. Lon Maidu. Okay. Yeah.
This award is going to Glenn Keel, Police Officer of the Year, for distinguished service during a life-saving rescue at Shell Beach on December 15th, 2025. Your actions under hazardous winter conditions contributed directly to saving lives and reflect the highest standards of public service. For Bo Payne, Marine Patrol Officer of the Year, 2025, for distinguished service during a life-saving rescue at Shell Beach on December 15th, 2025. Your actions under hazardous winter conditions contributed directly to saving lives and reflected the highest standards of public service. Thank you. Taylor Rando, Police Officer of Exceptional Meritorious Award. For distinguished service during a life-saving rescue at Shell Beach on December 15th, 2025, your actions under hazardous winter conditions contributed directly to saving lives and reflect the highest standards of public service. Thank you. Jenny Baylor, Animal Control Officer, Meritorious Police Service Award. For distinguished service during a life-saving rescue at Shell Beach on December 15th, 2025. Your actions under hazardous winter conditions contributed directly to saving lives and reflect the highest standards of public service. Thank you.
Beach.
Jenny.
Good job. Beach.
Kenneth Lewis, Highway Superintendent Certificate of Appreciation. For distinguished service during a life-saving rescue at Shell Beach on December 15th, 2025. Your actions under hazardous winter conditions contributed directly to saving lives and reflect the highest standards of public service. Thank you. Ronald Anderson, Highway Department Certificate of Appreciation. For distinguished service during a life-saving rescue at Shell Beach on December 15th, 2025. Your actions under hazardous winter conditions contributed directly to saving lives and reflect the highest standard of public service. Thank you.
Last but not least, Wesley.
Wesley Condon, Highway Department Certificate of Appreciation. For distinguished service during a life-saving rescue at Shell Beach on December 15th, 2025. Your actions under hazardous winter conditions contributed directly to saving lives and reflect the highest standard of public service. Thank you.
I'll just need a group shot before you disperse.
Okay, great.
So at this point, we're going to recess the meeting for about 15, 20 minutes so that everybody can talk and celebrate and have coffee and.
I gotta do group shot.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Yep. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for giving me the time.
Right. So welcome back, everybody. Before we jump into the rest of the agenda, we just had a awards ceremony for the police officers who assisted in the life-saving rescue, but I also want to reach out and thank our EMS who do these acts of bravery on a daily basis. So I want to thank everybody in the ambulance who assisted. All right, next up, we have Judith Mansky presenting some assessment exemption changes that are coming down from the state.
Yes.
And you want to share your presentation?
You can, if you'd like.
Okay.
Yeah. So 2025 was a pretty busy year for new property tax law changes. So just as a general overview, prerequisite for any property tax exemptions, Shelter Island must be your primary residence, and then you must meet the qualifications of whatever the property tax exemptions are. I had a very brief conversation with Thomas last week, right, and we went over, I gave him the heads up on these laws, that I was gonna be presenting them today. So all of these laws are local options that the county, town, and school can opt into unless specifically mentioned otherwise. Like I believe one of them is not, school is not eligible to opt into. But these laws have to be adopted before March 1st of this year in order for these laws to take place. Or be eligible for the upcoming tax year. Excuse me. Okay, so on my next slide, you can see that here are the 6 changes. And within these, the first one we're going to talk about.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can everybody on Zoom see the presentation? Jan, if you could unmute and say yes.
No, Meg, it's not on, Meg.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Federico, could you try to, yeah. Oh, there we go. Nope. You have to share it through the Zoom for it to show up. Here, let me, yeah. Sorry, Judith. No, it's all good.
Judith, could you wind back just a little bit? So what has to be passed by March?
A local law.
Okay.
It should. Is it working now, Linda? All right, we're good. No problem.
Well, kind of.
Just
I'm
slide
seeing,
it to the other side.
Oh,
I'm seeing,
slide it to the other screen.
Yeah.
Strange. It's weird that's on our TV, but it's not on the screen.
interesting artwork on the desktop.
Here, put it back on this side.
Mhm.
And now it's visible on Zoom, Benjamin?
No,
No, we're still the same picture of the desktop.
Oh, weird. Maybe stop the share and then try again. And then click the green button.
Started sharing.
Any-
Yes, now we're good.
Yep.
All
Now we're
right.
good.
And then go back one slide, yeah. So this slide is just a brief overview of each different law that was changed. So the first one that's listed is for the senior citizens exemption. So currently, the senior citizens exemption is on a sliding scale, and it maxes out at 50% off of your assessed value. Here, this would give a maximum adjustment of 65% instead of 50%. The second law is allowing veterans who meet certain disability criteria to get 100% off their assessed value.
The next one is the surviving spouse of a volunteer, to receive 50% off the assessed value. The fourth one is allowing a active military member who is currently serving in a combat zone to receive 25% off or 20,000 off their assessed value. Fifth one is allowing for a 50% exemption for a surviving spouse of a police officer killed in the line of duty. And the last one is an exemption for real property transfer to a low-income household. So then on the next slide, this is a broad overview of senior exemption. So currently, our current option, like I said, it maxes out if you make less than $50,000 on your basic gross income, you are eligible for 50% off of your assessed value. But under the new legislation, if you're making less than 47,000 you are eligible for up to 65% off of your assessed value. Now, having finished my analysis as to what this would mean, but I will say there are 80 people currently receiving this exemption. And of those 80 people, only 8 of them are above that 50% threshold in like the 25% or 40% range. Everyone else is at the 50% level. So,
So they'll go to 65.
so it's possible that they go to 65, yes. I'd have to look at everybody's income who's currently in the program and individually look and see who would qualify for a greater adjustment to that 65%.
Do you have any, never mind. Sorry.
Okay, all right. So that's the general overview for that senior exemption. And the next one is veterans that meet disability criteria. So on the next slide, you'll see veteran would have to meet several qualifications, right? Considered permanently disabled, must be 100% disabled by Veterans Affairs, and meet several other different criteria. I don't think we do have anybody who would meet this current criteria. But again, this is something that we could opt into if that were a choice. And there's currently an amendment for this exemption on Governor Hochul's desk. We're anticipating that new adjustment be made in the near future. So, the next law is for the surviving spouse of a volunteer firefighter or EMS killed in the line of duty. And so if the property owner is a surviving spouse of a volunteer firefighter or ambulance worker who was killed in the line of duty, the surviving spouse may receive an exemption of up to 50% off the assessed value of the property. And obviously, part of the qualifications for this is if they meet the 2 or 5 year criteria, which is another thing I'd like to bring up. So currently, our fire and EMS exemption, we have it written where they have to be 5 years certified by the department before they're eligible for the exemption. We now have the option to lower that from 5 years down to 2 years. So that's another thing that I think we should consider if we'd like to, attract more volunteers to our service. So, that's another exemption change. And then the next one for the military is the exemption for people who are currently enrolled in active duty, serving in a combat zone. They would be eligible for a reduction of 25% or $20,000 in full value. For us, the 20,000 is the lesser amount, so that would be their maximum. And $20,000 of assessed value for the town is a savings of only $41. So just want to put that out there as well. So then. We're still,
Next slide, Frederica.
yeah. So this is what I was just speaking about, where if they have $20,000 of assessed value, they're only gonna get $41 in savings. But this is another possible exemption if the town wanted to opt into it. On the next slide, the next law allows for surviving spouses of police officers killed in the line of duty. They could also receive 50% off the assessed value. Unless the municipality decided to change it to a lesser reduction, but 50% is the maximum if we were to opt into something like that. And then the last exemption change is a real property transfer to a low-income housing. So this is something like as an example, would be like a Habitat for Humanity selling to a low-income individual type of exemption. And the exemption range could be anywhere between 25% and 75% as determined by us. So this is kind of a local law that you'd have to adopt and say what our percentage off would be if we wanted to do that.
Okay.
So those are all the law changes for 2025 that have occurred. So if there's any ones that we'd like to opt into, we'd have to pass a law between now and March 1st.
Okay,
March 1st.
right.
It's a public hearing.
Yes.
Yeah. So, that'll get tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we can set the hearing. Do we know how many days' notice we need for the hearing?
I think 3.
Three, yeah, 3 for a local law. Yeah, we looked at that the other day.
Yeah.
So we could do a special meeting and set the hearing for the February 23rd meeting. So we can all like look into these and discuss them.
Yeah.
Judith, if you could run the numbers to calculate the impact of the senior
Yeah,
exemption,
that's
if it goes to 65%, maybe we can have you back next week and go over that and discuss these a little bit more.
I did have one other question for the low income transfer one, and just like a kind of as a matter in general. So if we were to put them into effect for this year, we would have to have them by March 1st, but could we opt in at a later date, or is it's just this window?
No, you
Okay.
can do it.
Okay,
If we passed it April 1st, it would be in effect for not this year, but next year.
okay, got it. I just want to make sure I understood how that worked. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Judith, for the senior citizen, that's for an individual. If your property is owned by a revocable trust, does that count?
It does, yes.
Oh,
So
okay.
your property can be in your trust, yes, but it has to, your trust, we keep copies of trust documents for people who have their homes in trusts if they have a property tax exemption. And within the trust, it must state that you are the person responsible for paying property taxes on your primary residence.
And it's 65?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Right? Any other questions?
No, I don't have any questions at the moment, but I want to look into them a little bit more. So
Yeah, yeah,
if you can calculate the impact and then
sure,
we'll try to come back next week and talk about it some more.
sure,
Excuse
absolutely.
me if I missed this email, but could you send that presentation to us?
Sure, absolutely.
You can,
Yeah, and I also have copies of the local law too, as does Thomas, so, but yes, I can definitely email you the presentation.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judith.
Thank you, Judith.
Okay, our next topic is business on town property. So what we need to do is establish the deadline for the business on town property applications so that we have time to review them and give approvals before they need to start working on their season. So in the past, they've started coming in as late as March, and then that kind of pushes the approvals into April, close to May, which doesn't seem fair to people who are trying to get ready for a business. So, we were
Or
thinking
us,
end of
because
February.
It took up so many work sessions.
So we're thinking the end of February could be the deadline, and then we'll try to do all the reviews in March and have everything done by the end of March. Does that sound fair to everybody?
And then how do we communicate this updated deadline? I wouldn't want anybody to miss it.
We'll post it on the website and we'll notify. You can even send an email to the regular
Yeah.
applicants so that they know. It's something that we've talked about doing for the last few years, but it just has
Last year we
the cracks, you know?
Got late, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's,
Only concern is it gives them 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of these are repeat applicants, so they kind of know. And if someone needs an extension, they can always ask for it.
Okay.
But it would be nice to try to get them in by the end of February, so we can at least start reviewing in March and be done by the end of March.
yeah, I think as long as we're like telling everybody and giving folks an exemption, if for some reason it's like a little too tight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be great to get ahead of it.
It would be nice, yeah, because then it's not fair to the applicants either, because then it's very close to when they need to start.
Yeah, we gotta figure out like,
They need to know what they're gonna be allowed to do. So if everyone's good with that, we'll set it for the end of February. What's the last? Maybe February 27th. That's that last Friday in February.
seems right.
Good.
You already got one in, so.
Oh,
See, so they know. They know. All right.
Is it D1?
No.
Okay.
All right. Moving right along. The O'Sullivan Wetlands application. So we did close the hearing last night. Let's discuss conditions.
Right.
One concern was what to do with the fill that comes out of the basement. Some can be stored on site, but there's no way all of it can be.
No.
It's not enough room.
yeah.
And so I guess one condition is that it's either stored on site or trucked somewhere to it.
Yeah, I think having it trucked off-site is a fair requirement, because there really isn't a need for significant regrading on the property, so there's no way for them to use it on-site.
Yeah.
So,
So trucked off, do we need to worry about? Maybe a neighbor can use it. Is that legitimate, or do we not?
no, I don't
Maybe
think,
go that far.
I think, yeah, it's up to
Trucked
them
off.
to remove it from the property.
Okay.
I have issues with this application. I just think in terms of a wetland application, it's pushing the limits. It's, the property is 14,000 square feet. That's not even a third of an acre. There was a house that was, what on it, 1,200 square feet? If we were gonna say that you could replace that house, that's one thing. But here they're building three levels of living space. They're gonna excavate the basement, that's 6 feet now, so they're gonna be down playing near groundwater in an area that already is subject to saltwater intrusion. I mean, I just think this is too much. 3 levels of living space, 3,000 square feet. It's not a third of an acre, and you're digging in the vegetative buffer. When the wetlands code came out, I mean, they were looking to protect the wetlands area. And it was regrading, excavation, anything that was out for the vegetative buffer. Here, we're digging, we're all over the vegetative buffer. 80% of the house is in the vegetative buffer. I mean, I just think this limit should be put on what can be done in a non-compliant lot. This is less than a third of an acre. I mean, in a problematic area. It's going to affect the neighbors. It's going to add to the problems that we know exist there. This is Silver Beach. Silver Beach is entirely within the near shore overlay district. I mean, I mean, this is a want.
What is your, I hear your concern, so what is your proposed change here?
What would be yours? Not mine. What would be yours?
Well, you brought it up, so I'm
I said
wondering.
3,000 square foot house, 3 levels of living
Right,
is
so-
too much for this location.
So what are you suggesting as an alternative?
Anything but that. Anything. No basement. No, don't be digging out the basement and playing around with the water table.
Only digging out a third of the basement. I mean, I feel the same way you do in general about this. But when I went to the site, I went into the basement in the crawl space and looked around. First of all, you're getting an IA system instead of the old cesspit that's there inside the wetlands. Second of all, the
Are
building.
you talking to me or are you talking to the camera?
Oh, I'm talking to you. What's going on? See, now you threw me off, Al. No, but the building is not in great shape. So this will be a rebuild of the building in its footprint. The only expansion of the building is 1/3 of the basement. The rest of it's gonna stay as is, which is
That's not true.
living in
That's
the
not
space.
true. The
Yeah.
basement is 6 feet,
It's 6 feet in one part.
and that's gonna be excavated down.
No, that's, on one side, there's a crawl space, that'll be excavated down with the staircase, the rest is not. And adding the second floor inside the footprint, is, it's not great, but it's not terrible either. And they've worked with all of their neighbors, they sat down, their plan has been adjusted based on their neighbors' input. I mean, they've been, pretty cooperative. And they're trying to improve the situation, not make it worse. I know, that's just how I look at it after going to the spot. And crawling around that basement.
I just wanted to voice my disapproval for the project. I think we're going down a slippery slope of accommodating people with non-conforming lots. That is excessive, that's all. No, I'm not gonna convince you.
Fair enough.
I'm not gonna convince you guys of this, but that's not my intent.
I mean, yeah, I do understand what you're saying, but there's also no prohibition in code against having a basement or a second floor. So there's really no grounds for denying a basement or a second floor when it's sort of in the same footprint going up. I mean, there's,
There should be a prohibition.
well, there isn't. Yeah, so I think trucking the fill out is good. Where was I looking for Teresa's list?
She had a question about the beams, which
Which was answered.
was answered. And then there was one thing that was like the second point on there was, and I just want to make sure I was understanding, it was basically like, could they maneuver the thing that was digging out the basement was kind of how I took her.
Oh, if they could maneuver the skid steer?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
They,
I was like, was that what she was asking? I was like, okay,
yeah, how they would do it. It can be done.
yeah, okay,
I've seen it.
At first, I thought they were gonna dig it out by hand, because it's not that much,
yeah.
it's not a lot.
Yeah.
House is incredibly small, and the space in the basement they're digging out, it's not the whole basement. so.
Right, it's just a small section of it. Let's see, what else did I have?
I'm just trying to think of what else was the.
There's a question about the depth of the vegetative buffer,
Yeah.
right?
You wanted 30 feet? Is that what-
Yeah, Teresa
believe.
wanted. Yeah, she wanted 30 feet. That brought it almost right up to the deck.
Yeah.
And there
Was it at 20 now?
Yeah, we had discussed,
At one point, we had a
No.
conversation about splitting it different.
right, I think we
25.
came up with 20 feet as the buffer is the note I have in pink on my paper.
Hmm.
I think it was at 15 right now, and Teresa said put it to 30, and then I think at the last meeting when we were talking about it, we came up with 20 as the
Yeah,
compromise.
because there was concern that it was gonna be,
They were gonna lose lawn space, and then it also kind of gives a better buffer for ticks. When you have all the overgrown grasses in the front yard, you don't want
yeah,
playing in them.
yeah. So maybe moving the buffer to 20.
feet,
Yeah.
There's no pool, so you don't need a pool fence. Um,
It was removed from the plan.
Yeah.
So the ZBA approved most of it, but denied the second floor roof deck. So
Yeah.
that won't be happening. There's no second floor roof deck. But they did approve the shower, the,
Associated dry well.
yep, the first floor deck, the pergola, the new steps, the outdoor shower, and the second floor addition, the new steps, yeah, so they approved those basics. The dry wells, we talked about trying to move them out of the buffer, but we can't because there's no place to site them
Yeah.
landward of the vegetative buffer because of the conflict with the well and the sanitary system and the propane. So the dry wells are gonna have to stay in the front or the water side, which is okay.
And also working with the neighbors, they moved the HVAC system to the other side.
Right, so it's no
Because they're
longer,
away from their house.
yeah, it's by the road instead.
Hmm.
Um, Already have the dry well. I have other things on here like leaders and gutters that are piped to dry wells because it's near shore overlay. They need to capture the runoff. Any storage or disturbance with construction materials has to stay outside of the vegetative buffer. Silt fencing requirements. And then revegetation requirements. Just the standard stuff that we've been putting on everything. So we'll add that typical language.
5 gallon per minute pump.
I think they already had, let me see.
In a holding tank? Should they have a holding tank?
Let me see if they called out the well.
Yes. Those are two good questions, actually.
Low flow well. Okay. Yeah, I don't remember there being a mention of the well in the plan.
Yeah.
So I think they were going to use the existing, but we can make that requirement. And they did design for a 4-inch rainfall for the dry wells, so that's good.
So something about the well. I don't remember where I saw it.
No, I'm looking for it too.
They were going to use the existing well. They weren't going to put in a new well.
And isn't it a 5 gallon per minute?
That's what I was trying to find. I can't remember if it was on this application or the last application I looked at.
That's what in the past, we've
Required, yeah.
Yeah.
with, and if need be, a holding, 300 gallons of a holding tank in the basement. For a drawdown at night, tank, to minimize the impact.
Very, seems to make sense.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see if they haven't commented about the well already, but I don't.
I know, I'm like, I cannot,
I saw it somewhere over the weekend. That over that.
Yeah. It's not finding
I can't
it.
remember where it was.
But that's a condition we can put in,
Yeah.
a low flow well. Any other,
Our standard stuff.
other than the standard silt fencing and vegetation and revegetation?
Nothing that I think of right now.
That seems.
Okay, well. Stormwater, yeah, sorry,
Yeah, no.
I'm like
Yeah.
tweaking out, I'm like, okay, stop, I was like, I can't find it in there, well, if we put in the low flow well, then that's like,
That's, it'll cover it.
that's fine, okay.
And the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, they'll go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other, so it's just
Yeah.
kind of a combo deal.
Okay.
Really slow running water.
Ooh, yeah, no pressure, no pressure. Okay. All right, so if everyone's good with this, we'll write that up and then people can read it over, and if they have any questions, we can address them next week. And see if Amber has anything to add next week. The next application we have is Ruskowski Coleman, and that is the 31B Dickerson Drive Wetlands application.
These,
If you don't mind, I'm not gonna participate in this conversation. Just gonna sit here.
Sit out there. If you're gonna recuse yourself, you gotta sit out there.
You know, I'm more like, I'm not recusing myself, but abstaining.
Okay.
Only because my conflict with, in this situation is going to go away soon.
31B Dickerson Drive.
What are you most comfortable with? Me sitting outside?
If you're gonna recuse yourself, then I would sit outside. If you're not gonna recuse yourself, then you can stay in the room. Otherwise, that's the ethics board's recommendation. So it's totally up to you.
I don't think it's a way to be recusing myself, but I should abstain on a vote.
Feel like they're one and the same.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. What should I do, Thomas?
I think you should recuse yourself or participate.
Right. Pick one or the other.
I'm out.
You gotta,
I
one or the
accuse
other. All right.
all right,
myself. Yeah.
okay.
I'm in a decision-making position on something else in their lives. So I am going to walk away from this and the other thing.
Okay.
Good move, Ben.
Okay.
Okie dokie. Yeah, go get some candy. So this application was 31 Dickerson Drive. There were a couple different things on this. It's an odd lot because the wetlands come in from two sides. It's on Banana Creek. And one of the requests is accessibility ramps because they need them to get around the
Yeah.
property. And then there is another request for a, what are they calling it? Just a screen porch?
Yeah, and then,
Off the side of
and
the
yeah,
house.
there was a memo, we had held it on Thomas's memo about the covenant.
Yep.
That was like kind of the bigger outstanding thing.
Right. The question was whether or not the addition of the screen porch outside of the wetlands boundary conflicted with a covenant that was placed on the deed about a deck. But the ruling was that because the deck is going to be going away, then the covenant goes
Yeah.
away. And because the porch is outside of the wetlands boundary,
Yeah.
it doesn't
Doesn't.
fall into this review.
Yeah.
So we've got that clarified.
Okay.
What other concerns or questions did people have about the application? I felt pretty comfortable with
Yeah, I
it.
felt after Teresa kind of went through and like understanding the buffer.
And they've answered a lot of the concern.
Yeah, they really have.
They
I
did.
mean, this is,
Feels like,
So we have a vegetation plan for them that,
Yeah.
delineates a nicely vegetated buffer, so um, that works. The elevated pathways are actually usually preferred over pathways that are on the ground, because
Right.
it allows life to live underneath them. So
that's great. And then there was something about, was this the trees, never mind. I don't know.
Yeah, so some of the conditions that Teresa recommended were the vegetated buffer, revegetating all the disturbed areas, which is, pretty standard. And then the comment you had about no trees, shrubs, or ground covering vegetation, maybe cut, removed, or limbed within that whole non-disturbance buffer area prior to authorization from the board. I think that's fine. They don't really plan on removing many trees. They kind of
Yeah.
have that well worked out. So everything kind of goes through the trees and stuff.
Yeah.
And then just our standards with the silt fence. All swimming pool discharge should go into dry wells, at least 75 feet landward of the wetlands. And I think that they accommodated that in the site plan. And then making it a condition of the rebuilding of the swimming pool is that the existing discharge pipes, which right now don't go into dry wells, will go into dry wells.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good condition.
The buffer's now 30 feet, right? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, other than that,
Driveway's permeable.
They have really answered all any concern. Forthright manner.
is this one where a low flow pump is appropriate? Can't remember if they already. They might already have one.
How would you decide if it was or wasn't? It's just like the near
Very
shore?
Prone to saltwater intrusion, so you'd want to reduce the speed of pumping, which would reduce the likelihood of saltwater intrusion.
That matches what I'm thinking.
Long answer to the short. Okay, so
Close to the waters.
it is. Yeah, it's an area that's prone to saltwater intrusion. A lot of the houses on the creek are.
That makes sense. I feel pretty good about this. I feel like they've really answered stuff. This
Yeah.
is like a great plan. There's a great buffer, like the walkways, I like,
Yeah. All right,
wooded.
so just like the standard
I think so.
sequence and the basic stuff that until we put into code, we're just gonna have to keep them into resolution.
Yeah.
All right. Everyone's good, we'll wrap that up.
Yeah.
All right, the next one is the Thomas.
Get Ben.
Ben, are you sitting out for Titonis? I'm just hollering into the
Yeah.
void.
Yell into the void.
Refuse for status.
Okay.
I have caught up and reviewed all of the documents that make up the file.
Okay. I have that one.
I know, yeah. Let's see. Gracious.
Scroll, Meg, scroll.
It changes this.
So what they're doing is removing, 4 tile piles and removing 2 6x16 platforms and 12 pilings. And they're replacing those with a floating dock that is on the side of the dock instead of making it outlets parallel to the dock, with a platform and access stairs to the float. So it's a seasonal floating dock, so it's not there all 12 months. And it keeps them just at 2.5 feet of water. The existing dock is, let's see, pre-existing non-conforming dock. It's approximately 237 feet long. I don't have a problem with this application. I think the seasonality of the float helps because it won't be there year round. They're taking off the platforms at the end of the dock and they're taking out the piles, which do count as a reduction of the nonconformity. And I think that the floating dock will make it safer for them to get on and off of their boat. So I don't have a problem with the application as it's presented.
Yeah, I can't see, I mean, I heard what, Albert, you were saying last night about the non-conforming, trying to reduce the non-conforming use, which I do feel like they have taken measures here. And I guess I don't immediately see any way that they could further reduce non-conforming use and still have it be a usable dock, which is, that's just not obvious to me.
This was an application for a new dock, obviously, this would not be okay.
Well, I wouldn't have gotten this far,
Yeah.
but
It's an existing dock, and they made an honest effort to reduce it. Doesn't mean it makes us happy, but any further reduction will make this dock unusable for the owner. And can't do that either, so. They made the suggestion changes of what they've agreed to is about as far as it can go and still be functional. So I'm okay with it.
are there any conditions?
Other than the submitted plans?
Yeah, I don't have any, but I was just wondering if anybody else
I
did.
don't think so.
I can't think of any other conditions other than what I.
Weren't they taking out PCA and putting in, yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know if we need to state that, that's in the plan.
it's in the plan, so you don't
Yeah.
have to.
I would have liked to. No, I mean, I said it last night, I would have liked to have seen it to go back to the WMA. I don't think they really vetted the dock completely. It's, as long as I've been my involvement with the WMAC over the last number of years, they look to reduce nonconformity. And the platforms, they're in the owner's way. He doesn't want them there. I don't think that's a real reduction. He wants them gone. So they're taking them out and he's counting that as a reduction in non. And the dock is 237 feet long. With the addition of a float and a ramp and an extension off the side of the dock. But
Well, yeah, I mean, they are in the way if you're going to put a floating dock in. Otherwise, the floating dock wouldn't work. So he is removing them because they're in the way, but he could always just remove one of them, and instead he's opting to remove both of them. Yeah, I'm okay with it. So if we're good with this one, we'll move on to the Shorewood Farms dredge extension. Okay. So this is an application that we've received before. We've conducted the dredging before, and it hasn't been problematic. We haven't had any complaints from the neighbors. It's the entrance to Mabel's Creek, which is right next to South Ferry. If you're on the ferry line to head off island, it's on your right. And the area where the dredge spills go is like right behind the bulkhead. You can kind of see it from the ferry. And they've historically put them there, and then if that gets full, then there's a site that there's allowed to take it to. For this one, the expiration date for their DEC permit is 2027. So, they probably won't be coming back to us for another dredge under this permit. They'll have to reapply with a new permit. But one of the things that we talked about last year was when we issue approval for the maintenance dredge, letting it run coterminously with the DEC permit so that we're not
Having to constantly,
doing it every 2 years or whatever the frequency of the DEC permit is, because, it's cumbersome to have the hearings and do everything else when it's not necessary.
that's a good idea.
In this case, it doesn't really matter because this expires next year. And if they do the dredging this year, then they won't need to come back next year. But that's something to consider for future applications. Because we get them.
For them to get their application in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because some people have a very short window in their dredging applications.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that they have to come and get our approval. And so then they miss their dredge window year after year. It's just becomes an issue. Yeah, but if nobody has any issues with this
I don't see
application,
any issues with
No.
it has.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, it is,
Even through it.
so it's 10:16. We will have to end by 11:30 at the latest because we have interviews today. But the next topic is introduction of fiscal oversight and transparency policy.
That's
Liz, I
me.
think that's you.
That's me. So I had brought this forward to Amber. I had a little presentation, but we'll look at it. We can look at it. We're not going to look at that today. Was basically just putting together a policy around our financials, right? So where this is like really coming from was, two things. Budget season last year was a tough one. And, looking at the budget this year, it doesn't seem like it's going to be any easier this year. And as you guys know, like I come at this as an accountant for businesses. So I'm used to kind of like reviewing financials on a pretty regular basis. So as things kind of stand right now, we get basically a year-to-date reporting versus budget once a month, right? And so that's kind of like what we see, right? And so one of the things that I had kind of brought forward is two things. I would love to see some more reporting. I know that, first of all, I want to acknowledge that I know that those things are interim reports, right? So we know that they're not final. But, things that I would love to see, either on a monthly or quarterly basis, is a balance sheet. If you put a gun to my head and said, what are the fund balances and where does Shelter Island keep their money? I could not answer that question for you. And, as we're kind of charged with like fiscal oversight, feels important to be able to do that. The other things that I would love to kind of put in there would be not only just a year to date financials, but financials by month, right? Just to kind of see where our spending is. I think a lot of these reports are probably available from our accountant through most usual accounting systems. So I know Amber and I had talked about sitting down with the contract accountants just to see if these are reports that can be run on a monthly basis so that we can kind of take a look at that. So, we're like looking at year-to-date budget versus actuals. Basically what you might consider in the private world, like a profit and loss per month. Balance sheets at least once a quarter. And, I would also love to see either on a monthly or quarterly basis to do basically a cash flow, right? Like when do we expect our revenues? When do we expect those expenses so that we can do some planning around this? So those are just like some reporting that I would love to see on, like I said, either like a monthly or quarterly basis, just so we can kind of like just do some more due diligence, right? And just kind of get ahead of maybe some of these issues, catch things as they come up so that we're not doing everything all at once during budget season. Is that going to happen sometimes? Yes, of course. But can we get ahead of it? That would be great. So the other part of it is on a monthly basis, whatever one of those reports are available to us is, if we could have that as part of our regular meeting, right? So if I know in many towns, there's like basically a supervisor's report. So maybe some of that detail is, again, those financials are still preliminary, but is there a summary of income and expenses that can be shared publicly and be approved at a public meeting? Just so that there is that kind of that visibility and kind of that transparency for the public to kind of just see where we are. Like I said, I understand that maybe like all those details might not be in, but
I don't know that we need to approve it at a meeting, but we could definitely review it at a meeting.
Yeah,
It just
exactly.
doesn't, yeah.
yeah, so
It's always evolving.
exactly.
Does it make sense to? But yeah.
Yeah,
It
just,
does make sense to vote, but we could
or
definitely go
just
over
like,
it.
yeah, we could just go over it.
Yeah.
And then the other part of this was my suggestion that once a quarter, so just 4 meetings a year, that we actually go through the financials, where we have a special meeting where we go through everything and kind of get our questions answered. So where we as board members would do kind of like a full review. I kind of talked with Amber about this, where maybe there's a separate meeting where we could kind of ask questions of our staff here, of our department heads, right? So that basically we could get our questions answered and then have a public meeting where we could kind of talk through some of our comments or kind of take questions, again, so that we're not kind of doing this all at once, but rather dealing with stuff as things come up. Now, I know that there are some concerns around, especially in the first quarter, that there's accruals that have to kind of go back to the previous year. That's totally fine. So maybe that Q1, meeting or whatever isn't till later in April. That's fine. I get that those accruals need to happen, but those accruals should be happening on a quarterly basis. So that doesn't seem like a crazy thing to ask of our contract accountants to book accruals once a quarter. And here's the other thing. We also understand, at least for me as somebody who reviews financials as something that I do for most of, this is what I do for most of my time, that it's also okay if you find things. That's the point of it, right? So if we go to a meeting, we see that an accrual is missed or something's, we have a question about it, that is actually us doing our due diligence. It's not a bug, it's a feature if we find stuff, right? So that we can get those corrected. And I just think that if we're looking at the financials on a more regular basis, I think that we're going to be able to see, if we kind of come across like spending that is unexpected or revenues that are lower or higher than expected, then it will allow us to kind of inform our thinking about the budget process before all of a sudden it's just upon us. The other kind of like last thing would be just to, maybe this is just Liz dreaming a dream, but we create basically a multi-year financial plan.
Yeah, no, I would like to do that. I think we have a very good capital plan working with the highway equipment. And I know we are going to work on one specifically for the waterways, but I think we need to do one for the town and
Yeah.
our anticipated expenses moving forward. especially after this winter, looking at this building and the things that are falling apart, we need to come up with a multi-year plan.
Yeah, and and like also kind of thinking about, we're looking at the facilities master plan, and as that kind of comes into view, and we think about what we want to do, we need to kind of really be thinking about like, okay, how would we afford that? What is possible? Right now, do we know that future boards might come and revise it? Sure, yeah, of course. But I think that in good faith, we have to kind of like enter in to kind of any decisions that we're making with at least a plan of like, this is how we see this going. This is what we think is possible. And I just always, my viewpoint is like, if something's important, then you should spend time on it. And you just can't help but be more educated and kind of see more things. So that is something that I would really like to put forth. Amber and I had talked about it. I think I would love to get your guys' thoughts. I think that probably the next step would be is to talk to our contract accountants as to what kind of reporting is possible for us to see on a monthly basis. And we might need a little bit more support from them, but
It may need to happen more quarterly rather than monthly.
well, it's
Until they get an understanding of what we're looking for.
yeah. I mean, even Amber and I were even talking about it. Even just we get that monthly report, right? But even just a summary of that, I don't see why that couldn't be available.
Yeah.
The other thing I think for me that's definitely been challenging is just trying to get questions that I have answered about the financials. I know everybody is super busy, but I've got questions. Like I want to know things, and it's just been really challenging to get answers. And so like I just kind of feel like they kind of just pile up, and it would be, I think, especially like as a town board, like part of what we're charged with is oversight, and so how do we do that? How do we do that job?
Right.
A fresh approach to fiscal management of the town is desperately needed. And I fully support everything you're saying. I like the high altitude look, but I'm also very concerned about literally the day-to-day level as well, because there are certainly things that I've come across that I'm like, how does this work? How does this happen? And if we have more oversight, it's going to be a lot more work, but that's okay. But I think we'll end up with a better result, and we won't be so surprised. There's actually no way to manage it once a year at the end of the year.
Yeah.
It's not possible. I've sat through it twice now, and I'm like, so. If you ran your company like this, you'd be out of business in no time. So I'm all for a change.
And my hope would be is that, really, at least this is how I'm kind of seeing it, is like kind of spread the pain over 4 quarters. You know what I mean? Like instead of just doing it all in this, obviously budget season is still going to be,
It's still gonna hurt.
it's still going to hurt. But if it's not the first time that we're looking at it and going, hey, what is the thing happening with that repair, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? If we're able to kind of answer these questions as we go.
Right.
I know, like for my tax clients, like I talk to them every quarter. I hate the people that I talk to at the end of the year. I definitely don't want to see their business all at once. So much more difficult. So
I mean, the only thing that I hesitate doing is bringing department heads into a public meeting and interrogating them. I don't really think I don't like that idea, but I think we can come up with a list of questions and then go and talk to them or have them into executive session.
yeah, and so that was one of the things that Amber brought up. So I super agnostic. I don't want to like call anybody out or do it, but what I do want is to get questions answered. So if there is some kind of way that we can, as a board, put together our questions, and then there is the thing the thing that I see is like structurally, there's no place to get your questions answered. So you put them in an email and you send them out into the void, and then that's it. You never hear about, So if that's an executive session, you know what I mean? Like I'm agnostic as to how that works. Where we could kind of have them in, ask our questions of them, so that when because we chose this, go to a public session and then can talk about it, that's fine. But what I just want there to be is some kind of process so that.
Yeah, I mean, like right now, if I have a question about something, I go to the individual and I ask them. So I mean, I don't need a formal process to go and find someone and ask a question, but
Right.
I mean, if the whole board has similar
Well, I think we
questions,
need-
then
I think we need more of a forum amongst ourselves to discuss the issues
Yeah.
and questions.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, I don't think there's anything to gain to a public grilling of a department.
right.
Nothing to gain there.
Yeah, no,
But-
they didn't sign up for this. They didn't know.
No, that's
Yeah.
fine. I think for me, like also, I would just say as somebody new, I find questions and I don't know who to go to. And if I can't get an answer about even who to go to get the questions answered, then I'm just kind of, am I figuring it out? Am I bothering lots
no,
of
it
people?
makes
I
sense.
sure am, but,
And it gives you a chance to make course corrections as you go, rather than
Yeah.
at the end of the year when you say, well, this thing here, first time I've seen it, number one, number two, not how we should be doing it.
Yeah.
And number three, it happened 6 months ago.
Right. Yeah. No, we can absolutely set up a process. I don't think that's a problem. I
Yeah.
think we should.
so, I mean, I think what the next step would be is talking to the contract accountants about what's possible on a monthly basis. And then I would say, if, obviously I'd love to have Amber weigh in on it. I know she and I have spoken about it, but, thinking about what that quarterly process looks like. And maybe, like I said, just setting just one special meeting a quarter where it's just like, we think about maybe in conversation with our contract accountants of when they can really deliver to us. Again, everybody knowing that they are not final audited reports, but rather interim financials, for us to be able to review, ask questions, and kind of go through. And also, I think to have the public be able to kind of to see them, I think would be helpful. So I think it's a conversation with the contract accountants, and then thinking about what that kind of proposed timeline would be. So I'm happy to look at that to bring to the next meeting. If that's helpful.
Liz, do you think
I
this
think it's a
process-
good thing, Liz. Good thing, definitely.
Do you think this process will give our contract accountants and our auditors a better chance at actually delivering audited financials in a reasonable, timely fashion?
Well, I mean, I haven't said boo to our contract accountant, so I don't know. But what I do know is that it's going to be we are going to basically ask for any accruals to be done. It's going to kind of give it kind of the deliverable, right? I need Q1 by whatever X date is that. And what it is going to also allow, my hope is that it'll take a little bit of pressure off of our supervisor and deputy supervisor, where we're going to be able to give them feedback once a quarter. Hey, what's this? Can you tell me more about this or that? So that they're not dealing with all of our feedback all at once.
Right.
So my hope is that it will be a little bit of a pressure release valve for all of us, right? There's always stuff that you're going to find at the end of the year. But yeah, I don't see how it couldn't help.
Yeah.
And the stuff that you're gonna miss if you wait to the end of the year, so.
Because it's just too much. It's just
Too
too
much.
much
Just
to
a-
see, It's just too much to see at once. So I will commit to connecting with our contract accountant. I'll try to make a time where maybe Amber can be in on that, because I know she's
Yeah.
her thing. And then maybe for the next session, I'll just kind of maybe come up with a preliminary schedule, and we can kind of talk through hey, these reports seem plausible. What do you guys think about these dates for a quarterly meeting? Does that sound?
Sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is town board member liaison reports.
In the holidays, I'm I didn't have any committee meetings.
All right.
I didn't have anything either.
Got my little notes and I'll do my thing.
I didn't really have much either, but we do have openings on the Green Options Committee, the Planning Board, the Health and Wellness Committee,
Oh my gosh, so many
the
openings.
Community Housing Board. So
We don't have,
Oh, wait, no, we filled those.
We filled
Sorry.
That's okay.
That's an old memo. We do not have
JK,
openings.
not that one.
Housing Board. Yeah, we did that. My bad.
Yeah.
Our WAC meeting from last week was rescheduled to today at 2:00. So that will be happening today instead of last week. And that's all I got.
I think I just had ZBA last week, which was just a quick one. It was great. I sat down with Bill beforehand just to kind of get a pulse on like what they were working on and how they, what kind of support they were looking for. And then the only other thing, community note, tonight is the last home game for the boys basketball team. It's also the senior game where they're doing the senior send-off. A certain young lady who lives at my house is a cheerleading captain, and I'll be sending her off too.
Nice. Yeah, congratulations.
Thanks.
Nobody has any other reports? Nothing? We're good? All right, I'm going to make a motion that we go into executive session for some interviews for all these openings that we have.
Oh my gosh. So many
Can I get a
interviews.
second?
I would like to second that.
All in favor?
Hi,
Thank you, everybody.
thank you.